in other Niner-related news, pertaining to the draft, which is coming up in about a week's time. So by the time we bring you the next show, we'll cover who the Niners end up drafting. But the Niners had hosted Western Kentucky edge rusher Deangelo Malone for a visit on Monday. He's also had visits with the Colts, the Texans, the Colts and the Texans, as well as the Niners. Deangelo Malone, like I said, out of Western Kentucky. Last season with Western Kentucky had 44 tackles and 9 sacks. So pretty solid player. He's got decent size at 6'4", 240 pounds. He would provide an edge rusher or some edge rushing depth behind Nick Bosa if the Niners end up going in the direction of an edge rusher. So that's one way that they could definitely go. And
that'd be surprising somewhat with having Nick Bosa. That's why I thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah, so, I mean, he would definitely be more of a depth player. I mean, obviously at this point, the Niners don't have a ton of deep holes, but they do have a few holes remaining. I mean, obviously, corner is even with getting the addition of Charvarius Ward, corner is a place they could look. They could also look at safety. They could also look at offensive line. So I could see all of those positions potentially getting addressed. So in another move relating to the 49ers defensive line, we reported he had a visit last week. Pass rusher Komoko Toure, former Indianapolis Colt, signed a 1-year deal. He is, of course, coming off a career-high 5.5 sack season in 13 games with the Colts. He's collected a total of 12 sacks and 33 tackles and 2 forced fumbles in 38 career games. This is a guy that's a former second-round pick by the Colts in the 2018 draft. And he's got a lot of potential, but he's been banged up with injuries. And he saw his rookie season cut short due to an ankle injury. He had an ankle injury in 2019 that kind of knocked him out for a significant amount of time. And, of course, that could affect the, we reported just a moment ago on the visit for Deangelo Malone, the pass rusher. I don't know if the Niners are still looking at a pass rusher now that they've signed him, or if that kind of takes care of that position and now they'll go somewhere else. Obviously, now we'll get into that. We don't pick until the 61st pick. However, the Niners do have the potential to get a lot deeper in this draft. We might not, unless something crazy happens and we end up moving Jimmy or Debo for additional draft capital. Obviously, there's still a week before the draft for that to happen. But if none of that happens, we're at 61 with our first pick. We have 9 picks overall in the draft. So, we've got, like I said, an opportunity to add some good late round players. We've got a pick in the second round, third round. I'm sorry, 1 pick in the second round, 2 picks in the third round, 1 pick in the fourth round, 1 pick in the fifth round, 3 in the sixth, and then 1 in the seventh. So,
I mean, those aren't very, there's no low picks, but yeah, I mean, you can always find gems late in the draft. So.
I mean, George Kittle was a 5th round pick.
Exactly. A lot. Julian Edelman, I'm pretty sure, wasn't he a late round pick?
Yeah, I mean, and Tom Brady, of course, probably the most famous late round pick of all time.
Yeah,
but
I wanted to go with somebody that wasn't Tom Brady.
Julian Edelman out of Kent State was actually a quarterback in college.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I think I was watching the Tom Brady documentary. And
it's actually a pretty good one.
Talks about that.
Which was crazy. Bill's just like, we're just going to move this guy to receiver. It's going to work. It's going to be fine. It's going to work out.
And it did.
I wouldn't question Bill with his track record, what he's proven in the league. But yeah, so like I said, at 61, if that's where we draft, some players we could potentially look at. I don't think he's going to be available, but you'd have to throw out Christian Watson. Now, Christian Watson, what I like about him, and in the growing trend of the NFL teams reuniting college teammates, obviously it happened in Cincinnati with Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase. It happened in Miami with Tua and Jalen Waddle. But, the interesting thing, Christian Watson He went to North Dakota State University. Do you know who else went to North Dakota State University?
I do not.
Well, I'm sure it's Trey Lance, bud. That's where Trey went.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Shit.
Yeah, okay. So Trey went to North Dakota State University. So it would be pairing up college teammates again. So, I mean, that's worked out the 2 times. I mean, Jalen Waddle kind of set a rookie record catching 104 passes, and Jamar Chase went off for Cincinnati with Joe Burrow as his quarterback. So it's worked out the previous 2 times. So I don't think he's going to be available. I think he's going to go earlier in the second round. So I think he'll be gone by 61. But I certainly hope that he'd be available if we're going to take a receiver, he's one you got to look at. A couple other ones, rest his soul, God rest in peace. Not referring to the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant, the Cincinnati cornerback, is also an option if the Niners choose to. It's Kobe with a C. It's not Kobe.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this guy's name. That's crazy though.
So he played on the insane Cincinnati Bearcats defense, which made it to the college football national championship this past year. They had a really Cinderella season, only to lose there. But he had a really good season, so he could be somebody that they look at as well if they choose to address corner. Obviously, I think corner's a position we could still address. We brought in Charvarius Ward, as we've discussed many times on that $40 million deal from the Chiefs. But if, we did lose K'Wan Williams, so if the Niners choose to add another corner, that could be a move they make. I mean, I personally think, right now we've got Emmanuel Sanders and Charvarius Ward as our starters. Dante Johnson, projected to potentially be the slot guy. And obviously, Ambry Thomas is in the running as well, and Diamador Lenore. So I think the corners we have are pretty good. So I think we'll add a corner. I don't know if we'll do it at 61, though. There's also been discussion of a safety because Jaquiski Tart is still unsigned. We could still end up bringing him back, but he's still a free agent. He hasn't signed anywhere. And this is a guy that you might like if they bring him in. For 2 reasons. 1, he's got your name, and 2, he comes from University of Maryland. He's a former Terp. Nick Cross. Really? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so, last year we ended up bringing in Talanoa Hufanga, who was a great safety draft pick for us. I really like him. So maybe we go with Nick Cross this year. And, that's assuming that the Niners aren't happy with who they have right now. He's 6 foot, 212 pounds. He ran a 4.3 40, so pretty solid player. He could be somebody that they look at as well if they want to address the safety position. And then just a couple other ones to mention. I've also discussed offensive line as being a place that they could go, and then of course edge rusher. A few other edge rushers they could look at. Potentially Drake Jackson out of USC, or Nick Bonito out of Oklahoma. And then as far as potential other defensive secondary players, also Martin Emerson out of Mississippi State, who could also be a good player. You figure that they're going to address corner at some point in the draft. You just don't know whether they're going to do it at 61 or not. That's really the telltale. And then, of course, they could also address the offensive line. There's been, a lot of report that Mike McGlinchey, who was injured last year, has been underweight in the offseason. There was a picture of him on Instagram where people were saying he looked like he was about 240 pounds. So, 40 pounds down from his normal playing weight usually. But he's reported that that's inaccurate, and he posted another picture, and I guess he looks like good to go. So hopefully all is well there. But, they could still end up addressing the offensive line. Although I think Aaron Banks, there's a lot of belief in him in his second year being a good player. So we'll certainly know in a week. Next show we're going to try to bring it to you a day after the draft. So hopefully, hopefully we get some good gems. Like I said, we've got a lot of opportunity to add some good depth in this draft. So hopefully with those 9 picks, we can definitely solidify our roster and really make a good roster great.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, well, we'll tune in next week, and we'll definitely let you know how the draft went and recap who we got. But thanks for joining us tonight, Faithful. Have a good night. And that's going to do it this week for the Extra Point Show. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you're not already, make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us on all of the social media platforms. And check out our other video clips, like the Niners News Update.
And the Commanders Countdown.
That's right. See you next week, everybody.